Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Voice of Houston right here on UHNTV. We've come into you what we call live. We thank God for all that He has done for us. It's a good, beautiful, rainy day, and we know what the rain will do for us. It brings good things to happen.
Cool things now.
Yes, Lord. And we've been having so much heat. Light bill is high as ever. I'm telling you, Doc, we've gone through quite a bit here as changes are coming to the United States so rapidly. It's mind-boggling to me. And I'm quite sure it's mind-boggling quite a few other people as well.
I don't know whether it's change or decline.
It could be. Yeah, it could be. But we look at the Supreme Court has done something I wasn't expecting them to do in regards to the loans that people have to pay back.
No, you were expecting them to do it.
No, I was really I'll say I was hoping.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way. I was hoping that they would not do, but they did.
Reaction that the loan forgiveness program had gotten coming from conservatives, Republicans. You knew that the Supreme Court was not going to justify forgiving up to $20,000 of student loan indebtedness for individuals who had borrowed enormous amounts of money in order to complete
their higher education,
school and professional school and so forth. Too many minorities and low-income whites were going to be helped from that. So you knew that that was something that the overwhelming majority of white people were not going to accept. And primarily now,
what you mean,
Republican Party itself.
What you mean the overwhelming majority of white people are not going to accept?
Well, because you have to understand that white people believe in white privilege for whites, primarily.
But aren't the whites that had to borrow to go to school, don't they have to pay it back?
The thing about it is they're not concerned about them.
Oh, really?
What they're concerned about is the business class of whites. And the business class of whites are the ones who control the socioeconomic structure of the society. They're not concerned about ordinary white people.
Well, that's something. The ordinary white people are the ones that vote.
Well, they're voting out of a sense of ignorance and not knowing how the system works. You know, the system is designed to work for the system. And the people who control the system are the ruling class of whites.
Higher.
That's a small,
small amount
group of whites.
And they have the other whites fooled in believing.
Yeah, because all they're dealing with, I'm white and I'm better than you.
So that's all I'm interested in.
Yeah, so
I'm not interested in how much money I can get according to what I should have.
Right.
And if I wanted to get a higher education, I'm not interested in that either. I just want to have privilege.
And
that's what they're saying.
Minorities down.
Yeah, and keeping blacks
minorities
down.
Period.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm saying black because we were first considered as minority here in the United States as a race of people that were supposed to be oppressed.
Right.
And that is, the oppression is because you have a color that is not presentable to me. And that color is black. And being black, you were a slave, and I want you to stay a slave. And I have been fooled in believing that I'm better than you because you were a slave and I was not. Is that where we are in this particular state of being in the United States for almost over 100 and some years? We still into that
Well, white.
that fooling people, white people fooling white people and believing that they're better because your skin is lighter.
Well,
But you're not seeing the good part of the whole situation.
Well, the sad thing about it is, whites do not realize that they were enslaved
Before the
when
blacks
they
were
had
brought here.
blacks enslaved. They were enslaved too, because in order to keep me down, you have to be a part of where I am, and in keeping me down, you're also with me, so you down too. Mm-hmm. They just didn't realize that they were down. And the reason why the Supreme Court struck down affirmative action in relationship to higher education, especially your so-called elite white schools, and the legislation basically was targeted against the University of North Carolina and Harvard. But we all know, let's face facts, whites have had affirmative action based on the gun since 1619.
Well, explain that. Explain that, because the whites have had that type of privilege since 1619. So what makes it any better?
When they went to Africa with the gun,
Okay,
and
I got you
blacks
now.
over here
You're right.
to work for them for free and build the infrastructure of the society, they had affirmative action based on me getting you to work for me because I have a gun.
And I can kill you and scare you to death, whether you going or shoot you, and it wouldn't be anything done to me for it. I got you.
And the
So
reason why even today you can't get
to them, at least,
you can't get gun control legislation passed
rightfully.
in Congress, and we know that
Yeah.
as a private citizen, what do you need with a military-style gun?
Otherwise, then
Unless
to scare
you-
people into doing what you want them to do.
Or unless you feel that we're in a civil war undeclared against one another based on skin tone
Or skin color.
or skin color.
And that skin color happens to be black more than it happens to be any other color, you all. Believe me. It's more black men getting killed every day, and women
Black
and
men
children.
killing one another.
And of course, we've been doing it. White people kill one another.
Yeah.
So far as that concerned, but they still
Yeah,
gonna
but
they
the
still gonna
percentage of
help.
whites who
They still
kill
gonna
whites.
help each other in certain areas.
But I
Yeah,
just
but
say,
they kill each other too. So that's
but
no biggie.
We know the white people kill one another.
But I'm just
The
saying.
percentage of whites who kill whites is far lower than the percentage of blacks who kill blacks.
Then what would that reason be? What do you think that reason is?
Well, the reason is obvious that whites taught us to deal with self-hatred. There's a lot of self-hatred among blacks.
Why do we have self-hatred so much among blacks than whites have against each other? What's the
Because
problem?
blacks, we were taught.
How? How were we taught?
When we were brought here, you had the concept of the house Negro and the field Negro.
But that came from white men raping black women.
Well,
and let's get to the whole nitty gritty of this whole thing.
Well,
And then they taught them that you were better because my daddy is white. But your daddy wasn't claiming you as white, but as a slave. Yes, it is.
That's not the question you were asking initially. You were asking.
That's what question I'm trying to get to, though.
Why are blacks more prone to kill one another? Because the highest rate of black-on-black crime is among us.
And that's what is the reason? The reason you said was, what was your reason? Your reason was, Doc, was this, that they were taught
self-hatred.
How can you be taught self-hatred when you look like each other, you talk like each other, you work toward the things that you want in your life, your lifestyle with each other? So how were they taught? if it was not by race, by racial difference.
Well, it's by skin color.
By skin color. And they
so
had
just
white men raping black women, African women, and then using their children as if they were better by putting them inside the house.
Right.
And they were lighter skinned. And so they knew they had a white daddy. You got a white daddy. You don't. Everything's gonna work out okay for you, but you're still a slave. And nobody was teaching that. And then we had society was taught that if your skin was lighter, you were better. Lighter skin, brighter, white daddy. We got to look at this thing that these white men raped black women coming from Africa over the years for their own selfish gain, and then made us realize, think that we were better because we were brighter than the other. That should be taught better right now, and we should see that even much better right now than we would see it 70 years ago than it is in the future or right in the present. Can you not understand that we are going against each other simply because a white man raped a black woman from Africa and had a child by that black woman, and he still used that child and did not admit that it was his child? He just made it so that we all were just acting as if we were better than the other because of our skin color. That's another thing that causes hatred among us. We think we better because we're lighter. That's not good.
Well, but also, Dr. Brent, you have to take in consideration that we have a mind too. And
yeah, we do.
We can think.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't blame everything that we do and everything that has happened to us on white people.
Why not, baby?
No.
Why not?
Because
you have.
Well, look, today in the 21st century, we don't have any chains on our physical bodies. Superficially.
But we have it mentally. Mentally.
Well,
we're mentally chained.
But if you have chains mentally on your body, whose responsibility is it to remove the chains?
It's the responsibility of the one that started the chain.
Well, how can
that responsibility lies within the... Well, okay, go ahead.
Let me ask you this question.
All right.
If there are invisible chains on your mind, because there's not no physical chains on your mind, so the chains are invisible. So if there are invisible chains on black minds, whose responsibility is it to remove the chains?
Well, let's first of all start with the government.
No,
the government.
That's the question. I mean,
whose responsibility to remove the chain?
Yeah,
the one that started the chain.
Well, how they gonna remove an invisible chain on your mind?
Well,
because who has control?
Well, wait a minute.
A white man can control a black person's mind.
Well, they're controlling each other. You are controlling not only the black person's mind, but you're controlling the white person's minds too. You're controlling that they are better than you are, and then you're controlling the black people's mind that they are better than the ones that look like you. You're better than they are. That's
Dr. Brent. You can't do anything.
Why not?
Period about white people and what they do or what they don't do. What can you do about it? It can be changed through the government. No, like if it can be changed through the government. The government is the main source of causing everything that what we're going through right now. Started way back when. Government. You said the government.
No, who control the government? Whites. White control the government.
So what can you do about that?
What can I do about it? Well, the thing that I can do.
What can black people do about white people controlling federal government, state government, local government? What can you do about that?
Well, first of all, to get to the real part of it is Pray. That's the main thing. Pray. Stick together. Next thing is to
after you pray, you got to go to work.
Exactly right. That's the next thing. Faith
prayer
without works is dead. So if you have to work, you have to have the faith, and you must pray. And the issue here is that the thing that is going on with us right now is that prayer has been lost. In not only in this country, but we're losing much.
What is prayer, Dr. Brent?
Prayer is the keeping in touch with yourself, with the spiritual self, with God.
This way, is prayer internal introspection?
Well, it can't.
The Bible says. Let me put it this way.
Sure, it is.
When you pray, go into your closet.
Well, it says don't talk all over the place. That's what it says.
Is the Bible referring to?
The closet is yourself. You can't be yourself.
Your own
mind yourself.
And so if you pray and you go into the closet of your own mind, then the objective of you in praying is to bring the I in you, which is your ego, where you done edge God out, in submission to the me that's in you, that will say, Lord, have mercy on me.
No, well, right now it's Lord have mercy on us, black people as a whole.
As an individual, we're not talking about collective prayer.
Okay, but we're talking about prayer. But the collective prayer even works even better. Collective prayer works better than individual prayer. When you collectively get together and pray, he says, when my people come to him, let's talk about all of it. Let's not only talk about the individual, let's talk about the collectiveness. That togetherness, we stand together, we stand, divided we fall. When you want to really reach God, is when people come together with the same mind, the same heart, the same beliefs, that God can. Well, if you look at the fact that we should be loving one another, caring for each other, and doing for each other, that should be there. That should be there. That's the sure enough answer to everything that we do. But anytime we have hatred from the get-go, from the ones that we consider as in power, and we have hatred, and they teaching their own children hatred, and it's going from one generation to the next. How do you not want this to be changed from the government standpoint? The ones that are in charge of the government, say for instance, when we had Trump as in charge, when we had Obama who was in charge, how hard did they fight to keep Obama from having Supreme Court appointees for justice, for goodness, for right? How hard did they fight for that? For him not to have representation for the people.
For him not to be able to appoint.
Yes, and not to be able. They fought hard for that,
right.
And that's why I say government. That's why I say the hatred that they have for the certain color. The color is black. People that are black are the ones that they targeting, and the rest you can say minority if you wish, but actually it's against the blacks, not against Latinos, not against Asians. Even though they went through some hardships themselves as in America and as well, but not as hard as the hardships that blacks had gone through. And we deserve to have what is right toward us being a part of this government in medicine,
once again, though,
in inventions, all kinds of things we have been, buildings, all kinds of things that we have been involved in to bring this country to where it is today, great. And it has nothing to do with slavery, but it does. That's all I'm saying, is that if we can't get the government right, we can't get anything right. If we can't get the government to do what's
Well,
right, then that's bad.
You're right, but where does the government start?
With the people.
Start now in your home. Because bases of society.
That's true too. But you have white homes that teach.
Well, you want to keep talking about the white.
Well, why not? Why not? Because they are the ones. They are
white, and you don't want to talk about where the problem begins and ends.
Okay, you tell me about where the problem
Well, the problem begins and ends with what we're dealing with. We don't have any chains on our bodies.
No,
we can't.
But it's chains on their bodies. They have a hatred chain on their body. They
might have some chains
on their minds. That's what I meant to say.
Like we got some chains as black people.
Chains on their minds.
But the thing about it is, our family systems are where we have to begin to correct our own internal problems. White people are not going to solve our problems.
We're not looking for them to solve.
They created the problem for you.
They need to stop interfering in the good. The bad
they're not interfering.
Why wouldn't you not say that they're not interfering? When you're gonna stop. Well, let me say this. If you're not interfering, why would you stop the Supreme Court would stop what they call it, Jesus. Affirmative action. Why would they stop affirmative action if they're not interfering? Those things we're looking at. Why would you stop people from having to pay back loans at a high interest rate that they're expecting it to be paid back, that you'll never pay it back? If you got 90 years old, it would be hard for you to pay that back. And then you're not helping the country when you are keeping people down from doing what they've been trying to do, is get a higher education to make this country great, better, and then you want to bring it back
they're not trying
down.
to make the country great.
When you get an education, that's what you're going to make the country do.
What they're trying to do is to make sure that the country remains white and in white control, that whites control.
Well, that's all I've been saying all the time. It sounds as if I wasn't not saying that, but that's what I'm saying.
But that's not our problem.
Of course it is.
No,
of course it is.
That's their problem.
No, it isn't. It's our problem with them because they're doing it in regards to keeping us from gaining.
No, our problem is how do we free our minds so that our behinds and our minds are integrated. That's our problem. How do we free our minds?
It's been almost 400 years, and we still have not had understanding between the white man and the black man, the white woman and the black woman, to understand that we are the same, and to understand that we should treat each other the same as if we were family. What other color you are, or whatever mindset you have, we ought to be family, not abrasive, not abusive, not wanting to destroy. Like this lady destroyed the other day, this woman, a black woman in Florida. She trying to inquire about why her child was being misused. Why were her children being misused by this particular white woman, and why did she do such a thing? She knocks on the woman's door, and the woman and says, well, I know you're in there. The black lady says, I know you're in there, so I want to speak to you about what you did to my children. She shot the lady without even coming to the door. She shot her from behind the door. She shot her. And she's not even charged for it. That's what I'm speaking of. How can we change these ideas and mindsets that whites have for black people? That's it's scary in this country for the last 400 years. For the last 400 years, it's getting worse and worse instead of better and better. And
the point that I'm trying to get you to and understand is that you can't change white mindset. Black people cannot change white folks' mindset about themselves or about us. We have to change our mindset about ourselves and how we deal with each other.
Okay, you have that. What's your answer then for your philosophy, Professor?
We have to strengthen our own institutions, starting with our families and our churches.
Then that means we have to start all over again.
Well,
because we've lost contact with church fellowship, and from the largest to the smallest, we've
in
lost
Jesus' ship.
okay, in Jesus' ship, we've lost contact in Jesus' ship as well.
Fellowship and Jesus' ship.
Yeah, that's true. But I know you're saying family, and I know, and you
Because
preach.
that's the
This is your sermon. Family. It begins with the family,
right.
And if you cannot get the family, you must. It ends with the family. And if the family's not together, so that means where is your starting point? Your starting point for getting the family together. Do you have a starting point for that?
The starting point is that we have to understand that family is a spiritual unit. It's not a socio-economic unit. And we have to stop dealing with one another on the basis of socioeconomics. We have to learn to deal with one another on the basis of spirituality. So that when we come together in our families, we can begin to come together in our churches. The reason why our churches tend to be dysfunctional and we got pastoral leaders who are not teaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, but teaching a prosperity gospel about materialism rather than about spiritualism.
Well, didn't they get that from the white? Didn't they get that from the white folks too? They got that from the white. The spiritual togetherness with the Father and the Son.
What we're saying is, white people are not God.
Oh yeah,
They
really?
died too. See, God
we understand that they died too, but you could have sworn they got a white God. We got a white God going somewhere.
It's not about them. It's about us and what we need to do and should be doing in our families, in our churches, and in our communities, because we can't control anything that white people do. And we shouldn't want to or desire to control anything they do, because most of what they do is destructive to themselves.
Well, how do we overcome the part where they are so destructive to us? How we overcome that?
By coming together in unity and love and peace and joy toward one another, which is what we don't have. That's why
we've lost.
That's why
we have lost.
Crime is so high.
That's why we have lost.
See, another Negro, he'll kill another Negro before God gets the news.
Y'all heard that, huh? Before God get the news. That's a good one. Yeah, before God get the news.
Yeah, so that's what our problem is. Our problem is we have allowed the hatred of white people toward us to become our own self-hatred.
I don't agree with that one. That's their hatred
to become
our hate
against ourselves.
No,
that goes back to what you were saying earlier when you were talking about light-skinned Negroes. Thinking they better than
that is a thought. That's a thought. I shouldn't say thought. That is a inbred idea that became a reality.
To divide and conquer.
To divide and conquer. That's the old issue.
But the thing about
we haven't told because we have kept back a lot. That's why God kept back what our history to our younger people, to so that they would be able to overcome what is happening to them, has happened to them in the last 70 years. That's where we and to us all, and it is affecting everything now because we fail to tell the past. We just went through it. Let's see, Martin Luther King, he did this, he did that. But that's just not enough with what happened. That's not enough. That what did you go through? What did the family go through? How did we have to come out? The past has not been taught of us. It's just a conglomeration of History Day, Black History Month. We haven't given that. We haven't told our children. We haven't taught them as God told the Jews, the Hebrews, continuously write it on the post. Talk, let them know what has happened to you, what has gone through. Why are you keeping these rules and regulations? Why are you doing such a thing? Why are we considered to stay the way we are? We have not, as believers, we have not, as a race of people, done what we are supposed to have done, is to teach our young, and they are supposed to teach their young, and it's supposed to be generation after generation. That should have been done, and it has not been done. And we are losing it each and every day because we have not taught. We just reviewed, but not taught, but reviewed. And I think that's the whole reason behind the whole situation, is because we have forgotten our past.
Well, and we have forgotten that the only answer is God.
Of course, that's true.
Amen.
Yeah, it's true. He was the main point at the time that we were really depressed and overlooked and misused and abused and all those other things. But he was the main point that brought us from a mighty long ways, as the song says. Yeah, it brought us from a mighty long ways. And what we need to do, my friends and sisters and brothers in Christ, whether you be black or white, Jew or Gentile, whether you be whatever, we all must understand that we are of one blood, one kind, from one Creator, and one Savior, and one nation
under God.
Under God. This is surely
and justice for all.
Without even being the United States. We are going to one day be that way. One nation under God. And we look forward to seeing that time. And for those who do not understand what I'm speaking of, we're speaking of the wiping up of all of the wrongdoers, all the wrong thinkers, the wicked ones, and all of those will not be in view anymore. It'll only be the ones that He has chosen, or has chosen Him. Well, love, we want to close with a high note. The high note is continue to keep the faith. Believe in God. Believe in yourselves as well. And we look forward to seeing you on the next round. Keep the paper in your car. Let's keep Houston clean. We love you. God loves you too. Bye-bye.